It's a pet, not an animal. It had a name. You don't eat things with names. This is horrific.
Hello to all the classic people that are returning. I'm glad you're back. I want to welcome any new visitors. As a technical note, references and citations are listed for each show on the site at classicmovierev.com. Today on the Classic Movie Reviews podcast, we are taking on Local Hero 1983. I wanted to go with something a little offbeat today. I found today's movie and it's a bit of a gem. It has one of Hollywood's greatest actors playing a billionaire and hopeless stargazer, a lovesick businessman, a scheming hotel owner, a mermaid, and perhaps a magical rabbit. I think this movie is not known by enough people, and it should be. It's a hilarious and quirky movie. Local Hero 1983 is rated 7.3 on imdb.com. On RottenTomatoes.com, it has an incredible 100% on the tomato meter and 87% audience approval. So the secret is out on this movie. The great film critic Roger Ebert said in his April 15, 1983 4-star review, quote, "Here is a small film to treasure, a loving, funny, understated portrayal of a small Scottish town and its encounter with a giant oil company. The town is tucked away in a sparkling little bay and is so small that everyone is well aware of everybody else's foibles. The oil company is run by an eccentric billionaire, Burt Lancaster, who would rather have a comet named after him than own all the oil in the world. And what could have been the standard plot about conglomerates and ecology, etc., turns instead into a wicked study of human nature," unquote. Later he continues with, quote, "What makes this material really work is the low-key approach of the writer-director Bill Forsyth, who also made the charming Gregory's Girl, and has the patience to let his characters gradually reveal themselves to the camera. He never hurries, and as a result, Local Hero never drags. Nothing is more absorbing than human personalities developed with love and humor. Some of the payoffs in this film are sly and subtle, and others generate big laughs. Forsyth's big scenes are his little ones, including a heartfelt, whiskey-soaked talk between the American and the innkeeper, and a scene where the visitors walk on the beach and talk about the meaning of life. By the time Burt Lancaster reappears at the end of the film to personally handle the negotiations with old Ben, Local Hero could hardly have anything but a happy ending. But it's a fairly close call," unquote. New York Times film critic Janet Maslin said of the film in a February 17, 1983 review, quote, "Genuine fairy tales are rare. So is filmmaking that is thoroughly original in an unobtrusive way. Bill Forsyth's quirky, disarming Local Hero is both, and it is also proof that Mr. Forsyth's other feature films released here, Gregory's Girl, was more than a happy accident. The Glasgow-born Mr. Forsyth has put Scottish comedy on the map for whatever that's worth. He also developed a dryly whimsical style, very close to a deadpan at times, that allows the strangest events or personages to glide by almost unnoticed. Local Hero contains a mermaid, an enchanted village, and possibly a magical rabbit. No undue fuss is made about any one of them," unquote. She finishes with, quote, "Local Hero is a funny movie, but it's more apt to induce chuckling than knee-slapping. Like Gregory's Girl, it demonstrates Mr. Forsyth's uncanny ability to make an audience sense that something magical is going on, even if that something isn't exactly explained," unquote. It all sounds so mysterious. Be sure to stick around to the end when I discuss magic rabbits and mermaids. Actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Burt Lancaster is amazing as billionaire Felix Happer, who doesn't feel good about himself. He would prefer to discover a comet than run his oil company. This great actor was first covered in The Birdman of Alcatraz, 1962. Peter Regerts played a self-important businessman, McIntyre, or Mac. Regerts was born in 1947 in New York City.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
His first film was Animal House 1978, and perhaps he set the bar too high. He's been in a lot of movies, but only a few stand out. These include Local Hero 1983, Crossing Delancey 1988, Oscar 1991, The Mask 1994, and Traffic 2000. Fulton Mackay was beach owner Old Ben. Mackay was born in 1922 in Scotland. He was a successful European actor and his films include Gumshoe 1971, Nothing But the Night 1973, Local Hero 1983, Defense of the Realm 1986, and Doing Time 1979. He died in England. Peter Capaldi was the local helper, Olsen. Capaldi was born in 1958 in Scotland. He first attended drama school and then went to Glasgow School of Art. After Capaldi finished school, he made a big hit in Local Hero 1983. He was Doctor Who from 2008 to 2017. He also played a World Health Organization Who Doctor in World War Z 2013. Good joke. Jenny Seagrove played the very mysterious Marina. She was born in 1957 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. At the age of 9, she began attending boarding school where she started acting. She eventually began studying at the Bristol Old Vic. She has been in 40 movies including Local Hero 1983. I'm not very familiar with her other films save for The Guardian 1990. She is still acting. Story.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Yuppie businessman Mac McIntyre, Peter Regert, is driving his Porsche through Houston traffic. A commercial for Knox Oil shows how the company Mac works for is continually searching for oil. In the boardroom, billionaire company owner Felix Happer, Burt Lancaster, sleeps through the presentation. The other board members continue in whispered tones as they plan the acquisition of a terminal in Scotland. They plan on paying no more than $60 million. They are clear that since this is not a third world acquisition, they will need a trained negotiator on site. Mac is given the task by his supervisor, although he wants to negotiate via phone instead of making the travel. Mac has been selected for the job because he has Scottish ancestry. At lunch, Mac says that he is not Scottish and that his family changed their name to a more American-sounding one when they got off the boat from Hungary.
Cal, I got a confession to make. I'm not Scottish. My folks changed their name when they got off the boat from Hungary. They thought that McIntyre was American. I can't even pronounce my last name.
Later, Happer is in his office with his psychologist Moritz, Norman Chancer. Moritz's program is to shame and degrade his client by verbally abusing him. Happer only wants to find a comet and have it named after himself. Happer finally throws Moritz out of his office. Happer asks to see Mac before he leaves for the trip. Mac rides the express elevator and climbs the stairway to Happer's office. Happer says the founder of the company, Knox, was a Scotsman, but Happer's father bought the company in 1920.
The founder of all this was a Scot, Alexander Knox. No, that's not him. That's my father. He bought out Knox in 1912. Would have been handy if he thought to change the company name at the same time.
Then Hopper starts talking about constellations. Happer activates a planetarium projector to show Mac the constellation Virgo. Happer wants a report anytime day or night. Later, Mac begins calling females in an attempt to get a companion for the evening. He has no real connections with anyone. Mac flies first class and is met by his local contact, Olsen, Peter Capaldi, who is awkward and trying not to let people know who they are. Their first stop is a laboratory run by Dr. Geddes, Ricky Fulton. There's a scale model of the bay and the area around it that Knox Oil wants to buy. One of the scientists, Marina, Jeannie Seagrove, reveals a bathing suit and dives in to replace a sensor. Geddes mentions that she has 5 degrees in oceanography and can program as well.
Oh, Marina, this is Mr. McIntyre, Mr.
Olsen. Danny. Hello.
The sensor on 41's gone haywire. I better replace it.
She's got a magnificent pair of lungs.
Oh, yes. A great asset. 5 degrees in oceanography and a very talented programmer.
Olsen is smitten by Marina. Marina is sent to lunch because she doesn't know about the deal, and the scientists show how the bay can be transformed into an all-belching hellhole. Mac and Olsen travel north and talk about Marina. Olsen hits a rabbit and stops to take a look.
Oh, shit, I hate hitting things.
It's just kind of stunned.
Maybe a broken leg or something. Should we put it out of its misery?
What do you mean?
Kill it. Hit it with something hard.
You've already done that with a 2-ton automobile.
They put the stunned rabbit in the car. I will come back to the rabbit in the summary. Their travel is stopped by fog. Olsen parks the vehicle in the road and they sleep for the night. In the morning, it is clear. Mac and Olsen see a massive lake in front of them. Olsen feeds the rabbit and a jet fighter screeches over. Passing through a fog is how they arrived at the magical Scottish town in Brigadoon 1954. They soon arrive at the sleepy seaside town of Furnace. The hotel owner, Gordon, Dennis Lawson, and his wife, Stella, Jennifer Black, are not sure about letting the two men inside, but Mac mentions that they have an injured rabbit with them. Gordon lets them in so they can make their own breakfast. Gordon goes back upstairs and makes love with Stella. Mac interrupts them, wanting to charge his electric briefcase. They leave the hotel to meet the certified accountant they are to deal with and his hotel owner, Gordon. They want Gordon to help with the purchases. Mac wants a collector deal, and Gordon says he will begin working on the acquisition. Mac and Olson will have to spend a few days in the town. Mac and Olson go for a long walk on the beach, and it's a beautiful place. They head to the pub so Mac can call work back in Houston. He is told he will have to use the red phone booth across the street, which looks like a red TARDIS with more windows. The locals all give him coins for the call. Mac has no patience on the call. It's all business. After the call, Mac notices the sky for the first time. Moritz is back in Happer's office and proposes physical abuse as therapy.
We should physicalize things a little.
What?
I could hit you. Wouldn't that humiliate you? We could progress by leaps and bounds. I could tie you up.
Forget it, March. You're talking perversion, not therapy.
Happer throws him out and orders his secretary to cancel all future appointments. Mac lies in his room at night with his bunny and listens to Gordon and Stella making love in the room above. The next day, Mac and Olson walk the beach in suits carrying briefcases. Fighter jets fly over and drop bombs on a range. There's an old man who lives in a shack on the beach. Mac and Olson head to the church to talk to the preacher. On the way, Olson asks Mac if he thinks Gordon and Stella do it every night. Unknown to the two men, the entire town is meeting in the church. Gordon tells the group that he will do the negotiating for the whole village. Sort of out of place, Reverend McPherson, Greyabur Asante, is of African descent. Before the Reverend says a prayer, the spotter warns that the Knox men are coming. The Reverend heads him off.
Reverend McPherson.
Yes? My name's McIntyre, and this is Olson.
McIntyre, eh? You're not Scottish, are you?
I'm an American, actually.
I'm not a Scotsman either. I'm an African.
Could you treat our conversation with confidence?
Oh, I'll give you my word that I'll be as discreet as the next man, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you.
But news does tend to travel fast around here.
I understand, sir.
The Reverend says news travels fast around here.
The townspeople head out the back, and Olson sees them all leaving. At dinner, Mac asks about the old man that lives at the beach. Gordon tells him that Ben, Fulton McKay, lives there year-round. Gordon asks how they're enjoying their casserole de lapin. Olson realizes that lapin means rabbit. There's a bit of a dust-up about the cooking of the rabbit.
We don't allow animals in the bedrooms. I should have told you sooner.
It's a pet, not an animal. It had a name. You don't eat things with names. This is horrific.
Stella comes out and apologizes. When she comments on Mac's eyelashes, it is awkward for a moment. The people of the village get excited about the money they will be getting. The next day at lunchtime, Gordon and Stella meet for a quickie. Mac and Olson throw stones into the water. Later, Mac talks to the fishermen about their work. They all say they pitch in for whatever job needs to be done. They all go quiet when he asks who the father of the baby that is sitting in the stroller is, as if they all pitched in to get the job done. Olson goes to the beach and sees Marina in a wetsuit and tank. He spies on her from the rocks. She spots him instantly and calls him down. They talk about oceanography for a bit. Mac goes to the store to buy toiletries. Marina thinks Olson and Mac are there about her laboratory proposal that she sent to Knox Oil earlier. Marina swims away. Mac sees Stella and Gordon dancing in the dining room. That evening, Gordon talks to some people about the deal. Mac comes in and they all go quiet. Gordon takes Mac for a walk and discusses the deal. They go to see Ben on the beach. Mac asks Ben about comets in the sky. Mac sees a meteor shower and is amazed. Olson is still at the beach waiting for Marina to come back. He sees the same meteor shower. Later, Olson practices holding his breath in the tub. In the morning, Olson goes to the beach and Mac gets a call from Happer. They discuss astronomy and not oil. Later, Happer receives a call from Moritz and he gets abused. Happer finally hangs up. Mac goes to the beach and collects seashells. Olson is sitting on the rocks when Marina comes out of the water. They look at some gray seals.
Sailors used to think they were mermaids, yeah?
Aye, they did. They were wrong.
At the store, the clerk gets a call from a Russian fishing boat. She sends word to Gordon. A skiff comes in with 2 people speaking Russian. Everyone in the town is happy to see Victor, Christopher Roschek. Mac sits on the rocks looking at the water and has lost his watch. Olson and Marina sit on the rocks and talk. He starts kissing her leg and feet and sees that she has webbed toes. Gordon and Victor go over the Russians' investments and Mac's shell collection. That night, the entire town meets for a traditional dance, or Kaylee. A punk rocker chick accosts Olson. Gordon and Mac work on the deal in the kitchen. Victor sings a Texas song. Gordon wants to haggle on the price. Gordon plays the accordion for the waltz. Stella takes Mac to dance the waltz. Ben comes in and loads up on food. Victor tries to cheer up Mac about the place being sold. Olson walks the water's edge. Suddenly, Marina pops up, dressed for the dance. He says that Knox Oil is not going to take up her plan and they're going to build a refinery. She says she doesn't see that happening.
It's a kind of alternative plan for the place.
What do you mean?
It's a kind of oil thing, a terminal or something.
No. I don't see that happening here. I don't see that at all.
Olson sees northern lights and is amazed.
High-energy protons spilling over into our atmosphere. They get through the magnetic shield where it's weak, at the poles. Best when the sun's active. That gets the solar wind up, and that's where the protons come from.
You say the darndest things, Marina.
Mac sees the lights as well and runs to call Happer to describe the view. Happer's call is interrupted when Moritz shows up and is posting insulting phrases on the outside of Happer's office window. Happer tells his secretary that there is a maniac outside the building. She should call the police and have them shoot to kill. Happer leaves for Scotland. Mac and Gordon finish out the night drinking and talking. Finally, Mac asks Gordon to switch lives with him. The drunken Gordon asks about Stella. Mac says he is in love with Stella and wants Gordon to leave her with him. Gordon says, yeah, okay.
I want to stay here. You can go to Houston. Take the Porsche, the house, the job.
What about Stella?
I was coming to that. I love her. Very, very much. I want you to leave Stella here with me, Gordon. Would you do that? Would you leave Stella here with me?
Sure, man.
You're a good guy, Gordon.
The next day, Mac and Victor bond some more. Gordon comes out and tells that Ben owns 4 miles of the beach. Mac gets word that Happer is coming to see him. Gordon, Mac, and Victor head down to offer Ben 100,000 pounds for his beach. Ben's last name is Knox. His family has had the beach for 400 years. They were given the beach for helping a lord kill his brother or something. Ben refuses their first offer. Later, they raise their offer to £500,000. Mac offers Ben other beaches around the world. Mac raises his offer to £750,000. Ben picks up a handful of sand and asks if Mac would give him £1 for each grain of sand. Mac refuses. Ben said he only had about 10,000 grains in his hand.
You're great at talking with the big numbers, Mr. McIntyre. Would you give me £1 note for every grain of sand I hold in my hand? Now you can have the beach for that. There. Saved you £1 or 2, eh?
Come on, Ben. I don't want to play games. Let's negotiate in a businesslike way.
Oh, dear. I mean, you could have had a very nice purchase there, Mr. McIntyre. I can't hold much more than 10,000 grains of sand in my hand at a time. Did you think it would be a bigger number?
They take Ben to the hotel and fill him up with food and booze. Olson works as the cook and the waiter. The entire town watches to see what Ben has decided. Gordon and Mac follow Ben to his house. The whole village comes down the beach towards Ben's shack. A strange light is seen in the sky, and it turns out to be a helicopter bringing Happer. Gordon gets Happer a room. As Happer walks, he eyes the sky. In the morning, Happer talks about buying the beach from Ben Knox. Mac tells Happer that Ben is interested in the stars and to accept any offer up to half a bucket of sand. Happer goes in alone to talk to Ben. After a time, they send for food and whiskey. More people arrive outside as the meeting goes on. Finally, Happer comes out. Ben has told Happer about some unplotted sky objects. Happer now wants a research facility built on the beach. Olson pitches Marina's oceanographic laboratory.
An observatory, so to speak, with radio and optical telescopes. And after a while, we can branch out.
The sea, sir. This is the natural place for a marine laboratory. We've already prepared some data at the Aberdeen lab. The North Atlantic drift, it comes right in here. Fetches up all sorts of interesting things from all over the world.
Sea and sky. I like that. We can do good things here.
You could call it the Happer Institute, sir.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
Olson, sir.
Olson, we got a job to do. You stay here with me.
Happer sends Mac away in the helicopter. Olson is in and Mac is out. Mac squares up with Gordon. Gordon wants Mac to say goodbye to Stella, but he won't.
You don't really have to pay, Mac. I can stick it on the knock stamp. Anyway, it's been fun having you.
No, I'll pay. I want to.
Okay. Then make it out to Stella Bjorker.
Stella?
She's the boss.
This is an American bank account, Gordon. Might not be valid here.
Don't worry, we'll stick it on the wall for a souvenir.
Well, so long.
You should say goodbye to Stella. She's upstairs.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter.
Go and see her, Mac.
You say toodaloo for me, Gordon. And toodaloo to you, too.
Olson goes to the beach and tells Marina that there's going to be a research facility like she wanted. He runs into the water and she does a twist as she dives. I swear that she had a mermaid tail when I first watched this. Watching it over and over, the illusion is created by how she is holding her feet together. Ben and Happer walk down the beach, collecting flotsam and jetsam. Stella is hanging out laundry as Mac's helicopter flies away. Mac goes back to his apartment in Houston. He has only stuff but no people in his life. Mac takes the shells from his coat pocket. He posts some pictures on his board, both of which have Stella in them. He looks out over the city. Back in the village of Furness, the phone is shown ringing. According to IMDb.com, this last bit about the phone ringing was added to the film. The director, Bill Forsyth, had the film ending with Mac alone in his apartment in Houston. Warner Brothers wanted something happier, so the ringing phone was added. I don't think it's really happier because there's no one there to answer the call. I'll be back with conclusions and the world-famous short summary following a word from our sponsors. Summary. I have loved this movie since I first saw it in the early 80s. But why? While researching for this episode, I realized Mac was on the hero's journey. The idea of the hero's journey was explained in Joseph Campbell's 1949 book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. To put this movie in context, I will examine the 12 elements of the journey for Mac. First, the protagonist is living a normal life in the real world. This is shown with Mac blithely driving his Porsche in Texas. The second step has the hero being called to take a journey or perform a task. This occurs when Mac is ordered to Scotland because of his Scottish ancestry. The third element is when the hero refuses the assignment. Mac does this by complaining that he is not Scottish and more of a telex man. Next, the hero meets his mentor, who is often a supernatural being. In this movie, it is Happer. His divine status is symbolized by Mac's ascent in the direct elevator and the climbing of the stairs to Happer's office at the top of a skyscraper. To continue the journey, the hero meets one or more helpers. In this case, his helper is the awkward but intelligent Olson. With his helper, the hero must cross the threshold. In this movie, the threshold is approached when Mac and Olson drive through the fog. They hit a rabbit, which is really the guardian of the gate. They spend the night in the car, parked on the road. In the morning, the rabbit is still in the back seat of the car where they placed it the night before. The morning is clear and sunny. The car is parked just above a large lake. Crossing the threshold is symbolic death. But in this case, could it be actual death? Did the pair die in real life, with one finding paradise and the other returning to hell? Once in the town of Furness, Mac must find allies and enemies. Is his main point of contact Gordon helping or taking advantage? Who else in the village can be trusted? The motorcycle that almost runs down Mac every time he steps into the street is a constant reminder of the perils of the journey. The phone booth is a link to the supernatural in the form of Happer. The threshold guardian is sacrificed and ritually consumed, although Mac and Olson didn't know. This act brings Mac closer to Stella, who takes over the role of guiding Mac as Olson soon leaves for his own hero's journey. Next, Mac is faced with his inner fears. Ben, a man that can't be tempted by money. Facing your greatest fear often takes place in a cave, like when Luke faced himself in The Empire Strikes Back 1984. Mac's shack on the beach has no doors and must be entered via a window. Mac continues his ordeal, which bounces between negotiating with Ben and his growing affection for Stella. Here is where things get odd, if you can believe that. Mac is not allowed to complete the journey as he understands it. The mentor Happer steps in and changes the outcome. Olsen, by pitching Marina, the mermaid's idea to Happer, gets the reward of access to Happer as the deity. The goddess has rewarded Olsen. Mac is sent back to Texas and blamed by Happer for almost messing things up. Mac must next take the road back to his old life. However, he now wants to stay with Stella. Her love would be a gift from the goddess. He reverts to businessman Mac and leaves without saying goodbye to Stella. I totally missed this point for many years. Marina, a name created from the Latin root for sea, and Stella from the Latin root for star, equals sea and sky. In the movie, it was decided that the Institute would study the sea and the sky. Mac, back in Texas, is resurrected into his old life. It is now hollow and meaningless. He takes the final step, realizing he can love and be loved. Now, I'm not saying that this hero's journey was intentionally created, even though the title of the movie has hero in it. In fact, writer and director Bill Forsyth said in the YouTube documentary, Movie Connection's Local Hero, that the movie is based on Scottish reality and Scottish myth. Marina could be a Scottish selkie. They are seals that can transform themselves into human forms. In some versions of the story, the selkie lures humans into the water and the human never returns. In the scene where Olsen tells Marina about the Marine and Sky Institute, he walks into the water and it seems we see a mermaid tail. World famous short summary: two guys go on a trip where they meet a magic rabbit and a mermaid. Hope you enjoyed today's show. You can find connections to social media and email on the site at classicmovierev.com or in the podcast show notes. If you enjoyed this show, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, you can tell a friend, colleague, or family member about the show, or leave a review at Apple Podcasts. It really helps the show get found. If you want to comment, suggest a movie, or help out, contact me by email at jec@classicmovierev.com. Beware the Moors.